Combat sports fans, it's time for another great edition of Strong Style, Impact Media's weekly dive off the top rope into the world of mixed martial arts and professional wrestling. I'm your host, Jeremy, the Impact York. My goodness, if this weekend could be any more loaded up with events, I don't know how. Within the next 2 weeks, practically every organization we cover is going to have at least one event, main event. Not we're not talking, in wrestling's case, obviously they have their week shows. We're talking about their big shows, the big one. That's how big this thing gets. Clearly, we're going to start it off with BKFC. I'm going to talk about the last or the top four fights, but the last four that I have not talked about from the card for next week. We are going to talk TNA Turning Point. WWE Survivor Series is coming up. Me and Daniel will talk about that later in the week. We're going to talk a little about the things leading up to that right now. NXT Deadline is next week. UFC Fight Night in Macau just happened, and they're going to take the week off, and their next event is UFC 310 next week. PFL Championship. There we go. PFL Championship is this weekend. That many different things going on. And of course, AEW just continuing to lay it down as only they can. They just had their pay-per-view over the weekend that you will hear a recap fairly soon. Fairly soon. Working out some we're wanting to wait that out, and you'll see. Me and Clay will be back on to recap that entire event, and you guys will enjoy it. You guys will definitely enjoy it. But before we do all that, if you are a fan of the show or want to become a fan of the show or just want to find the rest of the shows that we do, you can go to YouTube and go to Impact underscore media underscore on YouTube. You can go to the Impact 99 on all of the social medias and find me, which will find links to the shows if you can't find it through YouTube. And that's pretty much it. So let's jump right into BKFC 69 right here in Atlanta. That is going to be actually just in a couple. It's going to be next week, and it's going to be where the Gladiators currently are playing hockey right at this moment. So let's talk about David Simpson versus Joseph Creer. That's the next fight on the card. I think Simpson comes in as 2-3-0. He's got the wins over Suarez and Souter. He's got the losses to O'Shaughnessy, Mundell, and Jay Jackson. I'd say he's a seasoned veteran of BKFC that is not all that old. I think he's been fighting since almost the beginning. When his first fight was at BKFC 20. Yeah, it was not that long ago. I think you're going to see him. He is I'm not going to say scrappy because I wouldn't say that he's scrappy. I would say that his method is not what you would expect. A lot of times in bare knuckle, not in BKFC, you don't get a lot of this. You get people that just will wildly throw, punches and bunches. Just try to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, see what sticks. You don't see that. You will also see people holding back for that one good Tank Abbott spot. Tank Abbott was a solid fighter, but Tank would also he'd keep you at bay, and he was waiting on to just drop the hammer. And you don't see that. You see a lot more skill based, and not that those people don't have skill. You just see the involvement, and I think that's what you're going to get with a lot of the fighters that I'm about to talk about. I think David Simpson is one of them. He is indeed going for the knockout, but he's not afraid to sneak in the The jab here. I think he's a right-hander. Sneak in the jab or a quick uppercut or something. The strategic strikes instead of just throwing a bunch of stuff up. I think that's what you're going to get out of David Simpson. I think he's out of Kansas. If I had it correctly, um, and he is going to take on Joseph Creer. He was 2-2-0, has the wins over Danny Mitchell and Ronnie Glass. Had the recent loss in BKFC 63 to Bryant Atchison and Avery Duke Sinsley back 36, BKFC 36, I think so. Um, a lot of these guys and gals, a lot of these men and women, obviously have the MMA background. Some of them military, some of them not. And it's not that they couldn't make MMA work. It's that sometimes they wanted a different challenge. Sometimes they want to get booked in a fight. Maybe they're with an organization that lets you fight every 3 or 4 months, and they want to fight in between there when they're medically cleared. So a lot of them will jump over to BKFC and be given that platform, which is fantastic. You want more competition and more options, because that means, we're seeing it in pro wrestling right now. The more options mean the better talent is you're going to see it showcase more, because instead of, hey, only 20 people can make this and only 30 people can make this. Well, now we've got 150 people all across the board at various promotions, and you can see them intermingling. You can see the best of the best with ease, and that's where MMA and combat sports is as well. You got BKFC, you've got people getting into Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu and all the different other disciplines, where even if they are a UFC fighter or a PFL fighter or uh, or the one fighting championship or any of those, if you can get fights in between, a lot of times you do that, whether it's local scenes or not. It's not just the money based. It's not just trying to pad your career. A lot of times, you know, it's like with football. That's a good example. The backup quarterback is only as good as the reps he gets in practice and the live reps he gets in a game. You can't replicate what happens in a game during practice. So sometimes you just have to put them out there and just let them kind of figure it out. Well, that's the way it is here. You're getting more live reps, more fighting reps, and that just accentuates the skill level. Um, Greer is the one, I believe, who fights out of Columbus. He's got a gym down in Columbus. There are a lot of local fighters on here that and keep that in mind. That one that I talked about their fight last time, I should be talking to on Friday, and that will be a special edition. We will post that up. Um, he is a local, and a lot of these locals, before and after this event, I'm going to look them up and maybe try to make some visits between now and the next couple months, just down to their gyms, just to say hello, just to show you guys where these men and women train. And if you're in the Columbus area, they call it Bad Apple MMA. It's an MMA and fitness gym down in Columbus, Georgia. Uh, they also have an F3 gym, which is where Career teaches jujitsu, he teaches striking, he does all the stuff like that. I mean, if you're in the Phoenix City, Columbus area, look him up. He's right there. Look him up. Tell him the Impact sent you. He may not know who the Impact is yet, but I assure you in the next week and a half he will. But I'll be honest, I'm going to be a little biased. And if there's a local fighter, I'm going to back the local fighter. I'll be a little bit of a homer in that. I think Simpson's going to bring it in this fight, though. Man, these two, they are assassins, and they are wanting to take each other out. But I give the nod to Career, because I had it 50-50, not sure who I was going to lean towards, but Career being the local, sorry, Simpson, but I am going to take Career. That moves me to Manis versus Burgos, if I'm not mistaken. These are both MMA fighters making their BKFC debut in the what division is this? This is bantamweight in the bantamweight. So you're going to think, well, these are kind of smaller fighters. You know, they're around 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", 134 pounds. They still hit really, really hard. They hit really, really hard. Nate Maness and Nick Burgos. If you go and look at their, Burgos is 11-6 in MMA. He's been fighting since 2008. He's out of Salt Lake City. Um, has a lot of knockouts. A lot of knockouts. It doesn't even faze me that he's 44 years old because as somebody not that far off of that number, I like to think that we still have a ton to give to the world. And I think at 44 that Nikki No Holds Bars Burgos is now when I say scrappy there, he likes a good scrap, a good solid. I'll eat one of yours to give you one of mine. Not necessarily even a counter punch, just one of those. I'm gonna punch, and if you happen to catch me, great, because I'm coming back with another one. And it's just gonna keep going and just keep going until it's gonna be like a snow globe, but it's gonna all be fist snow. Let's see, a fifth snow globe of fist. No globe of fist. I may call this. I'm gonna write that down right now. You guys see it? I got my thing here. This is a snow globe of fist. That's today's episode. Snow globe of fist because there is a ton of this to talk about. We get to his opponent Nate Maness, who is also a MMA fighter. Can't call him former because they're still getting fights, but he has not fought officially in BKFC. And Mayhem is out of Kentucky. He has fought for TKO Major League, Warrior FC. He's been all over the place, fighting all kinds of stuff. You look at him, once again, you would think small guy, and maybe he's 134 pounds. Obviously, I don't know if you guys can tell. I weigh a little bit more than that. Not much more than that, but I weigh a decent amount more than that. So, standing next to me, they may look like small people, but I assure you that these pit bulls pack some power. And I would almost venture to guess that we are going to see a knockout in this fight. Man, who do I want to go for here? I am going to say, if I got to back the local fighters, and there's not a local fighter here, then I've got to back who I believe is the elder statesman here. I'm going to say Burgos finds a way to make this happen. There's my pick there. And in case Manis or Simpson win these, it's nothing personal. Hopefully, if we are there to cover the event, that we get a chance to talk to you, and I will eat my words right there in front of you. Now we go to the co-main event, Elmore versus Finley. Derek Finley is 1-2 in the promotion. He has this win recently in the Denver Prospect Show over Sergio Lopez. He had the loss to Lindsay and Harris, respectively. Those were in 21 and 22. That's why he recently got back into it. Dropped the glove, so to say, to be bare knuckle. From Chicago, has 37 total wins in his MMA career. 25 of them are by knockout. And of his losses, only 5 were by finishes. It's really hard to take out the Merrillville, Indiana. That's where he fights out of now, based out of there. He will throw. He is very strategic. He's a very low volume puncher as far as the amount he is throwing. But when he throws one, and he's not just gearing up for one good one like that. No, he's looking for his spot. So it may be here. Then there's I make it seem like I know a lot more about fighting than they do, but I absolutely don't. Uh, I they will know more because they train in it. I know a lot based off of what I see in training. Um, but he is very highly accurate and he is very good counter puncher. He's okay taking a shot to give you two. He likes that 2-to-1 ratio and will do his best to pretty much do that. He is facing Joe Elmore, who is 2-3-0 in bare knuckle. Has three straight losses to Peg, Tierney, and Garcia, but started off like a house of fire early on in BKFC 11 and 12, where he beat Chope and Chope, looking to get back on the winning track. No real reason why he's lost particularly. It's not always lost to Tepper. No, Joe Elmore still throws like he did at the beginning of his BKFC career. He also fights out of Georgia. As we are on this, I just saw the confirmation that the fighter I was talking about, we will be talking to Friday. So look for that on all of our social medias, all the places I told you there. Back to Joe Elmore. You guys are going to enjoy that too. He fights out of Georgia. He represents X3 Sport in Gracie, Baraga, Georgia. He has fought a lot of high level people. That's why even when you look at losses, he's throwing these high level people. Um, Big time patriot of the United States, and I feel like he's definitely not a low volume guy. He is going to throw a good amount of punches, and they are going to be pretty accurate as well. He is not big on the counter punching. He would rather beat you to the punch, so to say. And he's a southpaw, so he's going to be given. So Joe Elmore is going to be uh, giving Finley a different perspective there. And being local, I'm going to pick Joe Elmore for that particular fight. Now, of course, since this is an event I am covering, I am absolutely not putting any actual ducats on this. But if you want to put ducats on it, there are many places that you can go to do so. Um, so I want to try to help you guys with the picks and the ways that I see things and stuff like that. In no way do I know everything, but maybe it gives you a perspective of who you should choose and who you should cheer for in the fight, because I don't think there's a wrong answer on anybody in this card. So, last but not least, the main event. Michael Larimore at the ripe young age of 26 is going to be facing Keith Richardson in the main event. Larimore, obviously background in MMA. He's very grapple heavy when he does MMA. So I believe the dirty boxing, he's going to want to get in close. He's going to want to get really close instead of using his range like a lot of them like to do. Got an early round knockout in BKFC 47 against Daniel Gary. And he's from Florida. So it's kind of local, but he is going against 4-1-0 Keith Richardson, former bantamweight champion. He is the number one ranked bantamweight contender at the moment, and that is coming off a loss, his only loss to Alberto Blas back in June. He beat Reggie Barnett Jr., he beat Derek Perez, he beat Cody Jenkins, and he beat Justin Scoggin. So he was on quite a rush up until recently. That is, I believe, when he lost championship, but he's looking to get right back in it. They call him Keith, the rock star Richardson. He's a combat veteran. So, Keith, thank you for your service. And he was more of a submission guy when it came to MMA. But I noticed that a lot of MMA guys and gals, when they go from mixed martial arts from that to a different discipline, the striking seems to pick up, and his striking definitely. Uh, he's not a brawler. He doesn't just want to sit there and just trade back and forth. He's very methodical, very cerebral, almost calculated the way that he's gonna be into it. The aggression is there, but it's very on purpose. You know, like the Incredible Hulk. He's not mad just to be mad. Incredible Hulk gets mad when he needs to, and that's where that's where I feel like Rockstar is that when he needs to pour it on, he will, and when he needs to pick his spots, he'll pick his spots. Let's see, fights out of Rock Hill, South Carolina. Man, we got Florida versus South Carolina. Ooh, well, at least none of them. I'm not tied to any of them there. Who do I think is going to actually win this one? Give me Richardson. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's the former champ that I think he's still there, and he's going to take out the young prospect in Laramie, who's not really a prospect. He's about a win away from being in the title picture as well. I just think Richardson is going to have a little more push, and I think he's going to have the slight edge. Maybe this goes to decision. I don't know, but I feel like they want to take each other out. Definitely looking into doing that. So that's BKFC. I said we will be talking to one of the fighters that I talked about last show this Friday, and we will maybe we'll try to line up something special for next week too. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, let's get into the PFL. The PFL has their World Championships coming up, and that is going to be their sixth title fight. That is going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in King Saud University Stadium. When are these fight times? I want to make sure to tell you guys. This is all on ESPN Plus. Make sure you have the Plus, and you will be able to go check all of these out. This is There we go. Main card is at 1 p.m. and this is on Friday the 29th. So at 1 p.m. is the main card. And there, okay, is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's um all of the title fights. So now let me go, because there are some undercard fights that are ridiculous. Main card is at 1. It doesn't. I'm gonna just say that the undercard is probably at 10 or 11 a.m. If it is on ESPN Plus, I would venture to guess that. As far as the undercard, some fights to pay attention to. Jeremy Kennedy and Jesus Pinedo. That is Canada on Canada violence, but in the featherweight division, Pinedo and Kennedy will unleash their fury at any given point. So that should be a fun fight. That's on the main card. Where's that other one? Brent Primus versus Gazi Robadonov is actually that's on the main card. So we're going to talk about that right now, because here's the main event. Here's the main card. These are the 6 fights in the that will be for championships. In the heavyweight division, we are going to get Denis Goltsov versus Oleg Popov. Both fighters from Russia. I have seen Goltsov fight twice. I think I saw Popov fight once here in Atlanta. I like Goltsov. Goltsov has some very heavy hands, but his wrestling ability is really, really top notch. And I know Popov can do that as well. These guys probably know each other or have at least crossed paths at some point. But give me Denis Goltsov for the victory in that one. Maybe decision. Maybe. Where's the other fight? I was just looking. There it is. For the lightweight title, we're going to get Brent Primus rather, versus Gazi Rabadonov. This is going to be a fun fight. Brent Primus has been doing it for a long time, and so has Gazi. I actually give the nod slightly to Brent Primus. And I'm not. I just think he gets the slight nod in this situation. Ghazi's going to try to wrestle him and control the fight, and I think Primus has the striking to keep him at bay so he can set up his own attacks. In the lightweight division for the lightweight title, you're going to get Mohsen Mohammed Safi versus George Eid. I actually, this one's a tough one. I'm not very familiar with either one. Probably me trying to pronounce their name would help that. But I'll be honest. I think Mawson is gonna pick up the victory here. Being in the lightweight, I think it's gonna be a stoppage, maybe late second, early third. Just based on what little bit I'm looking at for their stats here. Don't know a lot about it, so maybe you guys know more than me. Drop it in the comments. Tell me more about Mohammed Safi and Eid. Love to hear more about it. In the welterweight title fight is going to be Magomed Umalatov. See this guy fight twice. Met him twice. Really a good guy. His English is pretty good actually. It's pretty decent actually. I talked through an interpreter when I spoke with him. But real solid guy. And Shamil Musayev comes in with almost spotless record as well. He's got the one draw on his record, 17-0 versus 19-0, basically. I got to give it to Umalatov because yes, he can stand and trade blows with you, but he is a phenomenal wrestler. Loves to grapple and loves to control you during the fight. And I'm going to say that Umalatov ends up your welterweight champion here. In the bantamweight title picture, we are going to get Ali Talib versus Rashid El Hazoum. I think El Hazoum has the slight advantage here. I think Ali is a good fighter as well. I think this goes the distance, and that is where El Hazoum is going to pick up the victory. Even fighters, from what little bit I know in the fights I've seen of theirs, I think these two are gonna do quite well. I mean, what we talked about: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I talked about 5 already. Okay, so there's more than this. We're gonna go to the light heavyweight division where Impa Kasagane and Dovlet Yagshimuradov. I'll be honest. Most of the time, Dovlet would be who I would pick because I think he's a slightly better fighter. But I have picked against Impa Kasagane a handful of times, and every time he makes me look very, very dumb. So, Impa, you got me on this one. I'm going to go Impa Kasagane is going to win the light heavyweight title. We go to the welterweight where Muhammad Alakri is going to take on Omar El Dafrari. Give me Muhammad to win the welterweight here. I think it's going to be a good, solid fight. I think it's going to go the distance as well. I think Muhammad's going to win that one 29-28. It's going to be pretty solid, pretty back and forth, but I think Muhammad's got more than Omar can give back to this fight. So give me Muhammad. We're down to the final 3 fights, and they are the ones that people are most interested in for this card for sure. Dakota Jaceva is going to face Talia Santos in what might be one of the best female fights of the year, and it hasn't even happened yet. A lot of people say Talia's got way too much experience, and the inexperienced Dakota is going to have her hands full. I agree she's going to have her hands full with Talia Santos, and I agree that Talia Santos is a very skilled fighter. Um, but Dakota is not just a one-hit wonder. She's 13-0 for a reason. I think she is really coming into her own. She is going to scrap, claw, and do whatever she can to continue her rise. And I think she's going to be your women's flyweight champion after after she defeats Talia Santos. And I think it's going to be a leg kick in the second, that's late in the second, that's going to be the victory for Dakota. We go to the co-main event. Abdelrahman Al Yassat versus Abdullah Al Khatani. Abdelrahman, I think, is going to win this one. I think it's going to go the distance for the featherweight title, but I think Abdelrahman is going to end up winning this one by decision. It's going to be a really good fight. Abdullah can really close the distance, try to get in inside the reach, but I think Abdelrahman is going to come out with a victory here. And then finally, Brendan Loughnane versus Timur Khizriev for the featherweight title in the main event. Brendan Loughnane, man, he is, if he was American, he'd be Captain America. So I guess he is Captain England. That, man, that guy just, you can't count him out. He just puts the country on his back and just keeps slinging. There have been a lot of times I thought he'd be counted out of fight, and yet here he was. So nothing personal with Khizriev, but I think Khizriev is going to get his first loss, and Brendan Loughnane is going to hand it to him. This could go the distance, and maybe Loughnane finds a way to put him down. I'm not sure how it's actually going to end, but that is all my picks for the PFL. Let's recap UFC, because I told you UFC 310 Pantoja versus Oscura is going to be next. It's going to be December 7th. It's going to be next week, not this week. And we are looking at, that's going to be at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. That's going to be a lot of fun. But they had the event. I think I did pretty good on my picks, too. UFC Fight Night down in Macau. Carlos Ulberg, unanimous decision over Volkan Ozdemir. I think I picked Ozdemir in that one. Gabriela Fernandez submitted Wang Kong. I think I'll pick Gabriela. Good submission, by the way. Muslim Solikov got the TKO win over Song Kanan. Jan Zaunan ended up with a unanimous decision win over Tabitha Ricci. I think I picked Tabitha in that one. And Peter Yan by unanimous decision over Devison Figueiredo. You can go back on ESPN Plus, I believe, and watch dang near every one of those fights, if not all of those fights. They were really good. A lot of those decisions. A lot of times people are like, oh, those are boring when they go to decision. No, they're not. There's a lot of stuff to go in there and watch. So definitely go back and do that. So we are finally to the wrestling portion. We almost have a 2-hour show. We're not going to. But now we are to the wrestling portion of our show. Now I'm going to start right there with TNA Turning Point. That is this Friday, the 29th, from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, in the Benton Convention Center. They will have one match on the pre-show, which does not make a lot of sense because they made this big deal about signing Lee from WWE, and they've had her wrestle for the last couple of weeks, and then now it's official. And then her and Savannah Evans should have a match, and yet it's not happening because in the pre-show, it's going to be Rosemary versus Xia Li versus Savannah Evans. What makes the most sense is that Savannah Evans finds a way to pin Xia Brookside and carries that momentum into facing Lee in the next couple of weeks. Nick Nemeth is going to defend the TNA World Championship against Eddie Edwards. Feel like we had this match not long ago. Eddie Edwards is really good, but Nick Nemeth needs to keep the belt because I still say he's going to drop it to Joe Hendry and then probably maybe by year's end. Where are we at? Marcus Slamovich is going to defend her TNA Knockouts World Championship against Jordan Grace in a 2 out of 3 falls match. I don't think there is any way Jordan Grace wins this match. It makes the most sense in the world for Marcus Slamovich to win it. Jordan Grace can take a small break if she wants or go on into other ventures. I think her contract's coming up, actually. So if she ended up in a place where she's been a couple times here recently, wouldn't surprise me. And no, I've not heard anything. But the Marcus Slamovich era is just starting. Just keep that in mind. Don't know why they're doing this. This is something TNA has done since their inception. They're going to have a 6-way Thanksgiving turkey bowl match. Whoever gets pinned or submitted must wear a turkey suit. Joe Hendry is in this. Eric Young is in this. Hammerstone is in this. Brian Myers is in this. PCO and John Schuyler. Well, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be one of the heels. So, well, not necessarily. Eric Young has done it before. But Hammerstone, Myers, or Schuyler are I think Schuyler's done it as well. Honestly, Myers would play it up the most. I think Hammerstone's it would be goofy for him to lose this match, but Hammerstone in a turkey suit I think will be funny. So I will say that Eric Young pins Hammerstone in that one. The Hardys and Ace Austin. Shout out Chris Bay. Hope everything's going better, sir. We pray for your speedy and pain-free recovery from that neck injury. And there's all kinds of ways you can still help Chris Bay. There's all kinds of auctions and other stuff. And if you want to donate and help out, definitely do that. Go online. TNAWrestling.com has tons of ways. Definitely go do that. But the tag partner, Ace Austin, is teaming up with the Hardys to take on the Rascals of Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel and Kushida. This will be a fun lightning bolt match. That's not the name of it, but it's a 6-man match that includes 6 people who like to run around and jump off of things and jump through things. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The Hardys and Ace Austin more than likely get the victory here. But if this leads to Hardys versus Rascals and Ace versus Kushida, I'm all for it, especially here in Atlanta, because that's the next event they have coming up. Josh Alexander versus Steve Macklin in a no DQ match. Having on pretty good authority that Alexander is either thinking about retiring or thinking about taking some time away. Plus, Steve Macklin needs to bump up to be a title contender again. So give me Steve Macklin to win the no DQ match. Hope he wins it clean. That's all I say. And Steve Macklin, thank you for your service. Frankie Kazarian is going to take on Mike Santana. The problem with this match is that I want Santana to win. I believe Santana is going to win unless Kazarian does something underhanded, which is very possible. But Kazarian is also your trophy winner that is call your shot. So, depending on, he could try to sneak in there on Nick Nemeth on that one and call his shot there, but I don't know. You kind of keep that one as a backdoor ace up, a backdoor card up your sleeve, not an ace because it's Ace Austin, but in case you need to move a title, that he's definitely one to do it there. I wouldn't be surprised if we found a way to get involved in this next match. That it is Moose who defends the TNA X Division Championship against Laredo Kid. I met Laredo Kid in Atlanta a couple months back. He's super cool. He is definitely super cool and worth the money to ever go see him. I think Moose retains. Moose is the X Division champion, actually works and works really well, that it's not just a light heavyweight division. So I think Moose is gonna win that one. That's just where I'm at on that. Let's talk a little WWE, and as we talk some WWE, we talk some WWE. Where is it? Survivor Series is going to be this weekend, Saturday the 30th. You can watch multiple ways, Peacock and all the different ways there. We will definitely be watching along as well. That is from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, at the Rogers Arena. That is the home of the Canucks. Is a place that I've always wanted to go. Everybody tells me Vancouver is a beautiful place, and they really know how to host a big event. So myself and Daniel um, will definitely break down this entire card. Uh, there's a lot going on with it, and I'm not even going to get into the card as of now, but I do want to throw some things out. Um, it's good to see Rhea back. And if she can wear that mask and be okay with an orbital bone, I think you can. The NBA does it a lot. I think that will allow her to be back because for the longest time they did not know if when she was going to be back. And good to see her back. Um, Ludwig Kaiser kind of going out on his own a little bit away from Gunther, I think is a good thing. I think they pretty much ran their course as well as they could. Right now, I got him as um a middle tier guy. He could be a top tier guy somewhere down the road. Keep working on the middle tier, facing a lot of those middle talents, and maybe end up with the Intercontinental or a U.S. belt because he's good enough and he's credible enough that if he won a belt, the fans would go, okay, that makes sense. And that's what's key because if it's not believable, then it's not going to work. Um, let's see, what else was I going to get into? I mean, we know the Survivor Series teams now. We know that on one side we're going to get Solo and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Jacob Fatu and Bronson Reed, which is just one massive team, by the way, one massive team. They probably could not ride the same elevator. And that's not saying they're chunky because they are not. They are solid and they are fantastic. But on the other side, you were going to get Roman, Jay, Jimmy, Sammy, and a guy named CM Punk. Interesting. And you're going to have Wiseman over there. People keep saying how much he's going to flip and all that. I will weigh in on that. I believe tomorrow night is when me and Daniel will talk about the entire Survivor Series matchup and all the there's a lot of good matches, a lot of good stuff coming up in that. That is pretty much the WWE stuff. There's Triple H. Not only is there going to be a U.S. title on SmackDown for the women's division, there is an Intercontinental Championship for the women that it's going to be on Raw. I still stand by. I want Chelsea Green to be the first U.S. champion, although oddly enough, I think she's Canadian. But the first U.S. champion, I think she absolutely deserves that. Not sure what kind of format they're going to do for Raw to pick one there, but it's because you need more than two titles and tag titles. You do need those extra because you have the depth now um for all these other titles that these women deserve. And actually, you know what? I'd venture to guess that Lyra Valkyria will be your first Raw Intercontinental Champion. I will say Lyra on that one. We will as to I go that way. All right, let's go into some NXT. They have been doing qualifiers because NXT deadline is next Saturday in the Minneapolis Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They are building up to the Iron Survivor Challenge, which is where 5 or 6 superstars. There's this weird TNA style format where like you're trying to get the most pinfalls or submissions, trying to get the most wins in like a 25-minute time period. And if you get pinned or submitted, you go into like a penalty area for a couple minutes, which makes you kind of, you can't be in the match. You can't pick up more victories. So I think they're going to do it that way. So basically, it's like an Iron Man or an Iron Woman match, but instead of it being an hour, it's 25 minutes, and you just try to get as many wins on the board as you can get. They have been doing some qualifiers for that, where Nathan Frazier beat Eddie Thorpe. It led to a tag team melee afterwards, which was kind of weird. But because Frazier and Axiom are still the champs. But Frazier being in this, he's a fun wild card. Um, there was a, or let's see, there was a women's qualifier where Jada Parker took on Stephanie Vacker. Is it Vacker or Vacker? We're gonna go with Stephanie. I think it's Vacker. Uh, of course, Stephanie gets the win in that one, but Jada Parker, she's not that far off from being a big time player. She can definitely hang with some of the top tier people, and as she develops more and more, this definitely she could definitely be part of that next wave after the current wave that we have right now. Looks like her and Lola Vice are going to get into it, and that's going to be a good thing. They should actually team up. They'd be a great team. Um, Tony D'Angelo defended his North American Championship against Brooks Jensen. That also included Sean Spears being down there. That was a great match. Looks like it's not over as Brooks attacked D'Angelo, took out his knee as Spears looked on after the match. It's going to help Brooks Jensen a lot, and Spears versus D'Angelo could be really really good because I think within the next 6 months, Tony D'Angelo is going to be up on the Raw or SmackDown roster. Not sure what they do with the rest of the family. Um, Brenly Reese and Dion Lennox took on Ashanti the Adonis and Carmen Petrovich, and I believe Ashanti and yeah, Carmen ended up with the victory in that one over Brenly Reese. Carmen and Ashanti is an interesting little duo. They are kind of hinting like they could be together and not, but Petrovich has made some MMA and in even Josh Barnett's promotion some different appearances as well. She is a legit fighter, and Shanti the Adonis is doing a good job since getting split off the tag team, let go, and then brought back. And there's actually a spot for him if he will keep going on the direction he's going. He's going to be a big time NXT star in the near future. We got to see Lexus King, who is still trying to figure out some stuff. He's almost in a little bit of a purgatory because he's not in on the big stuff yet of NXT, but he's not in on the small stuff, and he's kind of been in a little bit of a whirlwind ever since him and Skrilla the Great had that battle for Deep South Wrestling here locally. So I do have it on good authority that Skrilla has gotten a tour of the facilities down in the greater Tampa area here recently, and shout out to Skrilla. Keep doing your thing, King, and we'll see you soon, sooner rather than later. And let's see. Oh, there's the other qualifier match. Zarya took on Ren Sinclair. I like Ren Sinclair a lot. Zarya is really good. Big fan already of her. But Ren Sinclair matches up really well, really has some great in-ring work. Whether she wins or loses, she really has kind of come into her own since being with the Cats Club. But we knew Zarya was going to probably get into this because they're going to really stack up that Iron Woman challenge. I think we could pretty much figure out who all is going to be in it. Fatal Influence come out and we're talking crap to Lash Legend, Takara Jackson, and Nikita Lyons. A melee happened there where Fallon and Tatum Paxley kind of got into it a little bit. And Fallon got the upper hand of that one. Tatum Paxley is another one that she's going to have an interesting career path here soon, and I think she could really be a primetime player as part of that next wave as well. She's really putting in some good work. I really like what she does. with every the whole package of what she does. Andre Chase took on Ridge Holland for the number one contendership for Trick and his title. He was at ringside. And if Ridge Holland won, Andre Chase can no longer have contact with Duke Hudson, Riley, or Thea Hale. And Ridge won. So one of two things happens now. Great for Ridge. Ridge versus Trick. Sign me up. That's going to be great. Andre Chase is either going to dissolve Chase U, which I don't think is going to happen, or Hudson, Hale, and Riley are all going to graduate Chase U or be unceremoniously let go from Chase U. They're going to all go do their own thing. Maybe they stay together. Maybe they split apart. I don't know. But I really think Andre Chase should keep Chase U. It's one of the biggest sellers of merchandise down in NXT. And it's a really great system. And maybe he creates a new generation. Maybe there's some new people they want to put with Andre Chase that make a lot of sense. So I really think that's what's going on with NXT. And we will talk more deadline next week. AEW wise, we like I said, myself and Clay will be doing a recap show soon. So you will hear more about AEW with the recap and next week, because we're going to wrap it all in one, and then I will talk more about the in-between stuff of the pay-per-view on next week's show. Finally, Wild Women of Wrestling. We see Holly Swag hanging out with the Fab Four, which I think it's because she's the new fourth member. I think Vicky Lynn McCoy is no longer with Wild Women of Wrestling. Speaking of people no longer with them, The Beast had a retirement video where she retired about not feeling safe and protecting her family. And I don't know if she's done wrestling. I think she's just done with the promotion. So, and her contract ran out before they were done filming, I believe. So they had to do something a little different. Not sure who the champion is going to be. The Classmaster, instead of getting a title shot, had to face Santana Garrett. And Santana would have to be a contender, in my opinion. Classmaster would have to be, because they've kind of pushed her up into that. And there's some other ones that could definitely qualify up in there. Penelope Pink, Princess Aussie. Who am I missing? I mean, those alone, you could have a fatal four-way with those. And Jesse Jones. You got 4 or 5 different people in there, and I think you're going to have to sort that out. But that is for Nigel Zane and David McLean to sort out. But that's going to do it for this edition of Strong Style. I'm Jeremy the Impact York. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to catch all the action this weekend. TNA Turning Point this Friday. Survivor Series this Saturday. PFL Championship this Friday. UFC is next week, and so is NXT, and we will talk about all of those. BKFC next Friday as well. But for everybody here at Impact Media, I am Jeremy the Impact York. We will see you guys next week. Go watch wrestling. Go watch fighting. Deuces, gooses.